one part of what we had in mind here for today, guys. So just
Go
for
ahead,
context, I got to spitball through this idea. And basically the idea is we're going to have a draft. And this draft is not going to be your typical draft. Not going to be players, not going to be franchises or units or anything like that. It's going to be Jets media. So essentially the way I wanted to phrase this, it's people that are predominant in the Jets media world, whether it's like through a YouTube channel or some of the major broadcasting networks out there like ESPN, The Fan, The Athletic, and some of the other kind of outlets that are out there. And we kind of just wanted to have a draft, right? Which I thought was a very cool idea. And believe it or not, I have rewritten the order of who drafts when, right? I get the first pick because fuck you guys on this one.
Wow.
I got stuck with a third pick last time, right? So I'm getting first pick this time.
Wow.
Monty's going to get second, and Adnan's going to get third, and we're going to snake it. Okay?
Sure.
We're going to snake it. So the first pick of the Jets media draft, Connor Hughes, SNY. My reasoning for this, one of the more level-headed guys out there in sports in that covers the Jets, right? By all means. But more importantly, that guy's a fucking golfer and a golfer addict. And if you look at my fucking hands, you can see that one is not tan, the other one is totally tan, right? I saw a picture of him basically taking his kid out to the golf course when the kid was like 6 months old, basically in a stroller. And I basically like, that's my fucking dude right there. But more importantly, he's been pretty rational, right? He doesn't like get on anyone's nerves so much, and he's pretty objective. I just think he's the best of the group, and that's going to be my first pick.
Cool. So, well, since you took my pick, you fucker, that was going to be my first pick for a lot of the reasons you mentioned and more. My pick in lieu of having access to Hughes is going to be Michael Nania from Jet X Factor, right? So the reason I made this pick is because he's got a great balance to him, right? And you know, just like you want to have your producer, your workhorse, you typically get a running back, a top producing, high utilization running back in a fantasy draft. I think Michael is like kind of like that. So he's got the analytics chops down. He's excellent on film study. He's extremely committed in terms of like digging through and getting really valid, really legitimate takes on, what's happening on the field. He combs through it like painstakingly. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, he did the Sam Darnold project where he analyzed every single drop back that Sam Darnold ever made in his career. It was like 1,000 of them, and he graded them 1 to 10. The amount of dedication just that alone takes, I think it's crazy. I also ran a poll in the New York Jets official fan page on Facebook of who their favorite media people were. Michael Nania was definitely someone who was mentioned quite a bit. And then last but not least, on Twitter, Nani's got like 38,500 followers. So he's got a good following behind him. So I think you put it all together, I think he's a great start, to a draft of this kind.
I mean, the whole Jets X Factor crew is
they're great.
Great. And they actually respond to us when we do reach out to them. Nanny and I believe Nanny is a co-founder of the group. I could be wrong. Or maybe
he is.
Yeah, he is a co-founder along with 2 other guys who potentially could be in this draft as well. But he's just a great follow.
Yeah, he's a co-owner of Jets.
Yeah, he's a co-owner, and just in general, like he's really analytical, and like I'm an analyst by trade. I love reading his shit. He's somewhere in between Pro Football Focus and like an actual film guru, right? Yeah. Like he's somewhere in there, just pure numbers and that, but he actually picks out the right numbers to kind of gauge the level of interest in it, and he's just really great at that. But Adnan, now that you're kind of fucked over there because the top 2 dogs are off the board, who are you going to go with? And you have 2 picks.
No, dude. Like I am for my pick. I'm going to take us on a little trip down memory lane. And I'm going to go with an old school guy, my guy, Chris Mad Dog Russo. And it's for one specific reason. So I'm going to take you guys on a little bit of a journey back to the first Thursday night football game ever played on September 4th, 2003. For those who aren't aware, the Jets played in the first ever Thursday night season opener. They played at Washington, and that was a tumultuous offseason for the Jets because the Jets lost Randy Thomas, a starting guard, Lavernius Coles, starting wide receiver, John Hall, Pro Bowl kicker, Chad Morton, Pro Bowl kick returner, all to the Redskins. So they were playing against these guys in the season opener. And because it was the first ever Thursday night game, Chris and Mike and the Mad Dog, their show was live at Washington. And they brought on Terry Bradway, the Jets GM at the time. And the first question, and one of the greatest things about Mike and the Mad Dog in their heyday is they were just exceptional interviewers. They didn't hold punches. They went right at you. So the first question Mike asked was, how did you let these four starters get away to the same team? What was going on? Talk us through your process. And so Terry Bradway started with the GM speaker. Well, we can't sign everybody. We had to make moves. And Russo jumped in. Terry, that's a bad job. I'm sorry. That's a terrible job. You cannot let four of your starters get away for one season to one team. What are you thinking? Just eviscerated him. And that is one of my favorite moments of a beat or, covering the Jets is that usually when you interview these guys, it's never a interview like that. It's always like, what were you? Oh, okay, got it, understood, whatever. Russo was not letting him off the hook, and I loved every second of that interview. So I'm going to take Mad Dog Russo at number 3. And anything you guys want to add?
Try to be quicker.
No, I will be with this one. So my next pick is maybe not going to be a fan favorite, but I'm going to go Rich Cimini. I am a Cimini fan. John, we met him at that draft event, years ago. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's just been beaten down by covering the Jets for so long that he does have kind of that negative spin on things. But at the same time, I don't think he's usually wrong, right? Like, he tells you what he sees, and, he backs it up, and he's consistent, and when things go well, he writes it. So I think Cimini is very underrated. So I'm going to go Rich Cimini with the first pick in the second round.
Cool. I'm not
a fucking question. He would answer my question.
I'm not a Cimini fan. I think he hates the Jets low key, but he's been covering us for so long. It's just like
he's going for the flex always.
But he went so hard on the butt fumble thing. Like, he's part of why that became a thing. Like,
look, the guy's beat down, man. If you had to cover,
that's true too.
I feel like he's just jaded at this point. And I think if this team is good this year, I think you'll see a difference in me.
Yeah, for me, Cimini was just like, he was only in my radar just because he's good at the breaking news. Like, a lot of the breaking news he's good at.
ESPN, he has all the content.
But anyway, with my pick, my next pick, I'm gonna go new school. I'm gonna go with an up and comer, a guy who I think we actually even kind of aspire to be a little bit like here on Laughing Through the Turbulence. And I'm going to go with my boy Jake Asman. Jake Asman, he's kind of like almost like a Garrett Wilson for the Jets, because it's like he's like kind of newish to the game, but he's been making massive strides. Like his Twitter isn't that crazy. Like he's only got a few thousand, like 3,000 or 4,000 on Twitter, but his YouTube and his show have been blowing up. He's got, he's amassed almost 40,000 YouTube subscribers, just in these past like couple of years that he's really gotten well, that he's really starting to, take off. What I like about him specifically is that he's a realist. He's a Jets realist, right? And I empathize with that the most, like as a podcaster, as someone who's a Jets fan, like, because I can't be like these guys who are like, oh, every year's our year, every year's our, like, no, like it's the Jets, like, like there's got to be an element of like, a little bit of pessimism and a little bit of skepticism. And, you got to have a clear head. I think he does that. I think he's got great guests. His fan base is a great reflection of the Jets fan base. He does a lot of cool things with his guests. Like, he'll have certain regulars on the show and he gives them their own little like theme intros when they call in, like cool little stuff like that. And he gives me hope because, just 3 years ago, when he was kind of just getting started, if you scroll back in his videos, he was getting the same amount of views that we were, but less. He was averaging double-digit numbers on his views just 3 years ago. And he's also pretty good on breaking news. Like he's kind of just after these other guys, but what he doesn't have in terms of like being the connected source to break the news, he makes up for it in the fact that he goes live immediately, interacting with fans, talking to people, getting, feedback, all that stuff. He's also kind of data driven too. He likes to look at film. He likes to bring on guys that are great with analysis and film. He has people like Connor Hughes, like these other media personalities that come on his show. I think in a few years, he's going to be a monster in the Jets media scene. I think he's only going to go up from here. And I'm very confident in my second pick.
I called it on the show once, and I gave him a couple of the questions that we gave Izzy, and was not as very high on those questions. He was just like, he just answered and just like moved on really quick. What was funny was the next two callers that called in, they wanted to keep going with the game, which I thought was really interesting. That's when I knew that we had a small viewership opportunity here.
Yeah, he's got a good fan base too, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he does. But he's getting a little corporate for me at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got two picks now, which is just awesome. All right. So I'm not going to give his last name out because I don't think he reveals it, although I'm friends with him on Facebook. It's Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7. That's my next pick. What's interesting about Ryan is actually I met him at a Jets game. It was Jets Bills home opener in 2019. It was right before the mono game. He was in my section. I think Matt O'Leary was with them too. And this is when he like really started out really little. Like he was just like, just like Monty said, like really low viewership to start. And we started talking, right? And basically like the second CJ Mosley went down, I was like, dude, it's over. I just knew right away. But he's really good. He's very rational. And he's got a lot of heart in this business. So like, honestly, like and he did give me a couple suggestions for how to do things. Also another guy who I'm sure is gonna get picked up in a little bit. Just in terms of using this platform, StreamYard. If you want to sponsor us, StreamYard, go ahead. And basically, and it gave me a few tidbits on how we should do our show. So I'll give him credit for that, but also the show's really good. And also the Tuesday night showdown that he has with O'Leary and Green Bean's pretty entertaining too. So I will put him in that group. And then I have another pick, and God, I don't know how I'm going to come off with this pick, but I heart emoji Diana Rossini. I'm just going to.
Damn it. Stop taking my shit, bro.
Yeah, John, just keep it above board. Chief Compliance Officer, keep it above board. Keep it football related. All right? I don't want to hear.
Dude, I can't help it.
Well, no, don't seriously, John.
No. Let me just go on a little bit. So, like, first wave of Diana Rossini I really got notified on was on ESPN Radio's Dan Levitard and Stu Gotcha, because she was a guest on there for a while. And Stu Gotch is like us. He's a hardcore Jets fan, like loves the golf like me, and just smoke heaters on the golf course, right? That's basically Stu Gotch, right? He's a manipulative liar, which I'm not, but he is. But I could tell, just from the Diana Rossini, who's just a Jersey girl at heart, right? And very loud and just like, also very attractive woman. See, this is above, whatever the waistline I am. But like, yeah, I just knew like Diana and I would really get along. And unfortunately, she's married now, which is why if she wasn't, though, she would have been my first pick in a heartbeat. But
hold on. She wasn't your first pick only because she's married.
Yeah, this would be my way to profess my love for Diana Rossini and to try to get, say what's up.
Oh, shoot your shot.
She was really good on ESPN, and now she's on the Athletic. And unfortunately, and also the other thing was that she kind of tore us apart with the in the locker room kind of bullshit that like Nicole Hartman kind of started up, which I didn't really love. But other than that, she's been pretty great. And she has a large reach, so I'll just give her that. So she's my third round pick, first pick in the third round. So Monty, you are up again.
I am up. Well, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ruin your stack because the Diana Rossini is just not as she's a force by herself, but she's not 100% without Zach Rosenblatt. That's my pick. Zach Rosenblatt is one of the best sources for breaking news. He's broken a lot of stories. He works with Diana Rossini, 60K followers on Twitter. So he's got a nice little following. He helped expose the dysfunction between Zach and LaFleur. He also did that piece with Rossini on the dysfunction in the Jets organization regarding, Saleh. He's got that, between him and Rossini, they have some serious sources, within the Jets organization, or maybe they did, I don't know, but it seems that they seem to be very plugged in on what's going on. I just love that. I think you need that. I think that, if you're going to be putting together an all-star team of media and journalism, that's like the most important thing. Breaking news, you know what I mean? Being able to be the first, you know what I mean? Like there's first and there's best. That's pretty much what there is in journalism that people care about. So
first and last, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, exactly. So if you ain't first, you're last. So he's first a lot. So Zach Rosenblatt's on my team.
Yeah, but you can come in second, third, fourth. Hell, you could even come in fifth. I was high on Quaaludes. That's from Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
I'm not on
movie.
Quaaludes.
Solid movie.
I'm not on Quaaludes. Those are really hard to get.
All right, adding on with the double snake.
Yeah. All right. So I am going to go. Maybe break the rules a little bit here, and I apologize for doing that. But we have Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata of BT and Sal. I'm going to break them up, and I'm going to take Brandon Tierney. And the reason why I'm going to take BT is because, one, recently, I don't know, you guys have probably seen it, his unkillable speech after, Aaron Rodgers went down that Tuesday. I bought an unkillable t-shirt because I love the rant. I think I don't always agree with everything that Brandon says, but he is such a passionate fan. He loves the team. And, I think he's a very good advocate for Jets football. And he has a really big platform on WFAN. And I just think he really has a really good head on his shoulders when it comes to the Jets. And it's nice to see, somebody in the afternoon or in the mornings who's, a New York Jet guy. I really appreciate it. So Brandon Tierney is my guy with this pick.
Okay. And you got another one.
Yeah. So my next pick is going to be another WFAN guy. It's going to be Boomer Esiason.
Fuck you.
You know, Boomer played for the Jets amongst other teams. He's a Long Island guy. You know, he's a Northeast guy, played at the University of Maryland. And I think he has, kind of like you said about Connor Hughes, John, he has a level-headedness about him in the way that he kind of talks about, you know, not just all sports, but the Jets. And I really appreciate his perspective, being a former Jet quarterback, understanding what it's like, and having a little bit of success. Maybe not as much as we'd liked as, you know, when he was with the Jets, but he is a former MVP, played in the Super Bowl, and I just really appreciate Boomer Esiason, so he'd be my guy here.
Nice.
I hate you for saying that just because Boomer is, I believe, like, you know, like the first quarterback I really remember. You know, because like I'm born in 87, right? End of 87. So like, you know, I was a fucking infant basically. You know, but like, yeah, like he was kind of the first quarterback I can really remember watching, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, and it was kind of a tough I mean, like he was supposed to be kind of like our Aaron Rodgers then, right? Because he was a former MVP and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And those teams were just hot garbage though. And you know, he had the look of a quarterback, you know what I mean? Like kind of like what's the move? What's the Flash? Yeah, Flash Gordon. Yeah, but yeah, he was basically that, you know, like blonde hair, like you know, just I don't know. But congratulations for getting a good pick there. I'll just say that. But it's weird that he identifies more as a Jet than he does a Bengal, right?
Which is cool. Well, I think here, right? But I think outside of New York, NFL wise, I think he's seen, you know, as a Bengal. But listen, he's a great guy. Just like, you know, I love the guy. And John, to your point, I'm older than you and Monty by almost significantly. I'm 44, so I was born in 1980. So like, I remember Boomer, you know, signing with the Jets. I remember all of that, and he was like, you know, after Ken O'Brien, he was kind of the guy, you know, and like it was an interesting time to be a Jet fan, you know, early 90s, getting Boomer in. So yeah, I love the guy for sure.
It was a rough time being a Jets fan in fucking like kindergarten and first grade.
It
It really was. Like everyone's like, "What's your team?" Like, and they're like Niners, Cowboys. You know,
Yeah. Oh God, everyone was a Cowboys fan
Jets.
back then.
And I'm like, why? I'm like, my grandfather had season tickets. You know,
Yeah.
and like he gives me $1 every time they win. You know.
Yeah. Right.
I wish.
Me with $1.
Like, we would bet like $1 a game, and I would never pay him, but I would always.
I would have been a Jets fan way sooner.
Yeah. But then there was that
off.
13 season. I was just like, oh, shit, I think we're stopping this. And then the next season was 1-15. I was like, oh, God. I'm like,
all right. So it's my pick, right? All right. So another, you know, I you know, so when I did this, I kind of broke it up into like a different categories that I felt I needed to have on my team. So I kind of have like balanced, men of the people. So balanced are like, you know, kind of they're all of these things. Men of the people are kind of like they're just people that are popular, that people like, that they're into. Breaking news guys who are, you know, break the stories. And then film guys who can break down film, do the analytics, you know, actually give meaningful insight that you don't get anywhere else. So I want to make sure I always hit all the targets. And I'm going to take a balanced guy at this point who stands out among, you know, a lot of the media analysts and personalities, Matt O'Leary. I like Matt O'Leary. You know, I think he does a really good job at like very comprehensive coverage. So like his, you know, he's one of those guys that you can trust for breaking news too. I think that's very important. But in addition to that, he's like, you know, has a holistic approach. So he talks about everything from like draft position. He goes into the depth chart, defensive strategies, offensive strategies. He gives like a very wide, you know, perspective on the Jets. And then another thing I like about him is that he's pretty good about engaging with fans. You know, he encourages a lot of, you know, fan participation. He's you know, he's working with them on, you know, on TikTok. He's on all these different platforms. And I just like I like what he represents in terms of balance. I'm a fan. I think he's a great addition if I'm making a balanced, well-rounded, strong journalistic team that covers the Jets. I think that I have a lot of bases covered by picking Matt O'Leary.
Okay. Yeah, I used to get into it with him during the Adam Gase tenureship. That was not right. I was wrong. But like I understood what Adam Gase was trying to do, but it just they didn't have any fucking pieces to do it, and they needed to blow that whole fucking thing up. McCagan was the worst, but that's the one beautiful thing about Adam Gase. He got in and he was like, my GM's a fucking idiot. He got his ass fired. That's the one saving grace of Adam Gase. I will say that. Okay, so now I'm up. We have a whole bunch of names in here, and we're gonna I think do 5 rounds. Maybe we'll do a 6th one if we really feel like it. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Joe Blewett from Jets.
I knew it.
Factor. Yeah, he's my guy, man. I mean, honestly, like he does the film breakdown, just like Nania does. I mean, he's way more of a film guy than Nania.
Yes.
Nania has more analytics and numbers, but Blewett is really, really, really film
deep.
And Cool Your Jets podcast they do, like, damn, that's a good channel to listen to. And his tidbits on Twitter and all that, like I go back and forth with him a lot in Twitter just to see if even my takes are good, right? And I make a take and he's like, yeah, this and that, he's very responsive on that. But he's just really he's also a co-founder of Jets X Factor. I subscribe to that. If you're gonna pay for anything Jets outside of like jerseys, tickets, NFL package, if you need that now because everything's so fucking expensive and you may not live in the in New York, Jets X Factor pretty much will give you everything that you need, and he did a fabulous job building that, and I have all the respect for him and everything he did. And then I guess my next pick, right? This one's tough, right? I'm gonna go Greeny, Mike Greenberg.
Boo!
I will say this. This is the only reason why I'm picking Greeny, right? It's not because I agree with anything that the guy says, right? In terms of just like what his thoughts are about the Jets organization. But sometimes when it comes to wrapping up the misery that us Jets fans have come into, right? There is nobody that does it better than him in terms of just summing it up and he does it on his platform, right? And he some of his rants are just really good about it. He's just like, this is all I know. Like all I know is suffering and misery. And of course, Aaron Rodgers would tear his Achilles the first game, the first nice thing we've ever had at quarterback, right? It's just he just sums up that sentiment that a lot of us have shared so fucking well. And I would hate not having him be picked amongst all the kind of names that we rounded off on the side sheet that we had, right? So I'm gonna go with Greeny. If he wants to come on the show and rant, that'd be fucking cool. Obviously he's probably too important, too big time for us, but that's okay. And I don't really like Get Up. I like, Mike and Mike. Mike and Mike was a great show.
Mike and Mike agreed 100%. He's the
reason. That was the peak of ESPN radio. When it was Mike and Mike, Levitard, it was Scott Van Pelt and Russo, right? Even Calhart was tolerable.
Yeah, so I would say like he's just too whiny for me. Like just too much. Like, and this season when the Jets schedule came out, he said, "Don't send Rodgers. I've seen this movie before." He's way too whiny for me. And I think there's a fine line between like misery and whining. And he whines too much for me.
That's fair.
And I also think, let's be blunt, he's the reason Mike and Mike went off the air. He wanted to branch off, do his own thing, didn't really, include Golick in that decision. So that kind of like, taints him for me, but more so it's just way too whiny, man. Like, we've all faced it.
So on that note, my pick, which is very much in the vein of what you described, but I think this guy actually captures the pain and the misery and the strife that is being a Jets fan even more than any of these other guys, even more than Greeny. He's an OG. His podcast is literally called Oh the Pain. He's an old school master historian of being a Jet, and that's my boy, Joe Beningo. I think that guy is just, there's no one I rush to faster to hear his rants after a Jets loss than Joe. Joe B is just, first of all, he's just been in the game forever. Very down to earth, relatable analysis. He's an everyman, which is very much in the spirit of our podcast. We're not like these guys that are super plugged in or super whatever. Like, we're just some guys who started a podcast, and like
We're
he's
beneath that. Let's be real. We're beneath that even.
And he's kind of like the everyman. He speaks like, just kind of just talks, straight up, like he sounds like, the guys you see on the corner in Brooklyn, going to, like just walking down the street in like Bensonhurst or whatever. He has that thick, like rough New York accent. It's just, he's super passionate. He's loyal to the Jets to a fault. He doesn't hold back, though. He doesn't hold back. You know what I mean? So he is, he'll say what he wants to say about he'll say what he wants to say about the team. And he doesn't like, for example, he's like friends with Robert Saleh. He goes golfing with Robert Saleh.
Yeah, but and that's my point. And
then but wait. Let me finish. He'll play golf with Robert Saleh, but then he doesn't hesitate to say like, oh, listen, I like Robert Saleh as a guy and we're friends, but he's got to do better with this. He's got to put sauce on this guy. He's got to do that, and he'll roast him for doing his job. No euphemisms. I love Joe Beningo.
But Monty, he leaked texts between him and Robert Saleh. He was talking about personal. That
wasn't on purpose.
No, that's unforgivable, man.
No, that's not on purpose, man.
No,
that's not on purpose.
It's not on purpose.
He's like 70 years old. It's like your dad. It's like your dad, talking about a text. He's not
good enough.
I don't agree.
In the media, he knows better. He should know better.
He knows better, man.
No, you want to talk about knowing better is like Rossini and Rosenblatt putting their hit piece out on Saleh's birthday. I know I picked Rosenblatt, and John, you pick Rossini. That to me is
because I have the hots for her, dude.
Yeah, that's some shit.
Dude,
that's some shit that's unforgivable. When you put a hit piece out and like you go to you.
But
there's no way.
Monty, that's journalism, right? They vetted their sources, so they put it out on his birthday. It's a hit piece, okay, right? Yeah. What's more unforgivable is leaking private texts. A guy that you trust, who's your guy? I go golfing with him, and then he says, "Oh, I got these texts from Robert Saleh, and here's what he's telling me." That's unforgivable. That's the equivalent.
Again, it didn't come from so first of all, he kind of said his piece about that, and and did his best to make that situation right. But again, he's an old ass guy. Like, he's just that.
But John, Monty, we've talked about it before, right? Like, ignorance isn't a defense.
Fine.
Age isn't a defense. You can't say, "Oh, he's too old to know better."
I'm not saying it's completely that, but like what actually happened, who was actually hurt by it, who lost their job, like nothing happened from it. Like, it was just like, it was a faux pas. It was a journalistic faux pas, which almost every journalist has made. It's not like he's, it's like you're acting like he's Manish Mehta over here. It's not that. That's where you're fucked up.
My Beningo thing is, and listen, if the leaking of text things didn't happen, I would have picked him earlier because I'm an old school guy. Love Beningo. Like, he's been part of my soundtrack growing up my whole life on WFAN, right? But man, to me, that's unforgivable.
The guy's been commentating on the Jets since I was in friggin' diapers. If that's the worst thing that happens in the 50, 60 years that this guy's been a friggin' Jets fan, I'm okay with that.
But that's a really bad thing, man. That's a breach of trust, right? He's not a guy who was like, "I'm covering the Jets and all these sources are saying this." It was things that Robert Saleh trusted him with. And listen, maybe Robert Saleh shouldn't have trusted him. But if he's your guy, if he's your golf buddy, and I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. So I can't.
Well, I mean, listen, he said he was wrong. He admitted it. He gave his public apology about it. And again, I don't think it was any sort of an intentional situation. I think that he made a mistake, and human beings make mistakes, and I'm not gonna crucify him for that.
Yeah, can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's the way that I look at that. But
All right, who's got the next pick?
Is it me?
Final pick.
Yeah. All right. So with this pick, I'm gonna go with someone younger who's kind of ascending through the ranks. Is Connor Rogers, and I think Connor he's on multiple platforms like SNY, Pro Football Talk, and I think he just landed a gig, I believe, with Pro Football Focus. He's really an up-and-comer, does the Jets pregame. He's just somebody who gets me excited about the Jets, right? And he brings that kind of and it's funny they have the same first name, but he brings that kind of Connor Hughes vibe where it's laid back, but fun and enthusiastic, but not afraid to say this looked like garbage, right? So I think Connor Rogers is one of those guys that's up and coming. I'm a big fan, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do this coming season with kind of the additional responsibilities, the additional gigs. I think it's going to be really interesting.
All right. You guys want to do a round or two?
We could do one more.
Let's do one more. So then it stakes back to me, right?
Honorable mentions, undrafted group. But okay, Adnan, you got this is your last pick. Round 6.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this pick, I gotta go. And I see that he was just added, so I'm glad that he was. I'm gonna have to go with the guy Rich Eisen.
Yep,
he is a big Jet fan, and I think he does what Greeny does, but in a non-whiny way. He talks about the misery of being a Jet fan. He talks about how hard it is, about all the things he's been through, but he doesn't whine about it. And he also has appreciation for the good things when things get better. He's optimistic, whereas Greeny's always well, let's see what's going to happen now. This is probably going to be terrible. Where, you have a guy like Eisen that's just kind of even keel, and I really appreciate that. So my guy is Rich Eisen with this pick.
Yeah, I'm going to get Eisen into trouble here. And I had him so I could remember to make him my next pick, but to be fair. But Adnan, do you remember meeting Eisen at the draft?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I tell the story real quick. Adnan and I were waiting in line at Radio City for the final draft, first round at New York City, right before they started moving it around. And they got to bring it back to New York at some point, right? But I remember that there was a hot mom and her fucking kid behind us, right? And Eisen was fucking just chatting her ear off for a fucking while. And she basically cut the line and got our tickets and was out, And Adnan and I waited all night. We met a bunch of really great people there. Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders,
athlete. And Roger Goodell was fun. I don't care what anyone says. He was fun. He loved my jersey. I had a Revis jersey, and they wrote replaceable in the back.
We both did the same thing. We had the replaceable jersey.
Yeah, he was fucking fun. But I don't know. Eisen was definitely married still at that time, so who knows? I just had to look it up just for record.
Let's edit that story out, Monty. I think probably edit that out.
Apologies. Keep running the 40. I'm sure you're going to break 5 seconds at some point. All right. Anyway, Monty.
Yeah. So my honorable mention is going to be
your pick. It's your pick before we go to honorable mentions. Yeah.
This is. I thought this was the honorable mentions pick.
Round, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Jet fan. I think he's a great content creator. I think he's a very sharp guy. He brings a unique perspective being a guy in Buffalo, surrounded by, essentially behind enemy lines, surrounded by Buffalo shit fans all the time. And he still brings the heat. He still he's funny. He's creative. He also has pretty diverse coverage. He does he does a lot of fan engagement. He's still on the lower end, but I see him rising the ranks. He's in the 5 digits now on Twitter in terms of his following. I've interacted and engaged with him a few times, even though I hadn't agreed with a couple of his takes at certain points. I still respect where he's coming from. And I like his YouTube. He's one of the YouTube pages that I watch. And so Buffalo Jet fan.
Yeah, he's a great follow. And I thought he did a really cool thing for the all AFC East team. He pretty much got it all right recently, but except for he should put Michael Carter II in there. You say that name, put it in there. All right. So, I could just joke around here and put Jen Sturger on this list, right? My pick. That was the one that Brett Favre sent the dick pics to, essentially. That was the
Chief Compliance Officer has a long night ahead of him.
He was definitely the hottest. Seeing her,
Jesus Christ. All right, John.
My place, that would be it for me.
Cool.
Okay, so there's a couple guys on here. I was thinking Green Bean. These are guys who basically say it's honorable mentions. Robbie Sabo is
that was mine. Yeah,
he's pretty great too. I might go Sabo. He does really good interviews with a lot of Jet, especially Wayne Corbett. He's got a really good relationship with him, and that's why I was hoping we can get Wayne Corbett on. But Corbett, is getting a little. I don't know. There was too much there at that point. I think we need to be established before we get Wayne Corbett on. But he's also really good at film breakdown. But also it's interesting. Fluid's more mechanics of the film breakdown, right? But Sabo is he's really good at basically saying, "Hey, this is why this person made the decided to do something differently than what was designed in the play." He kind of because he coaches high school football, I believe. He's a DC as well, so he really fucking knows football, and he just has a really he has a great voice for broadcasting and all, radio, whatever it is. He's just really I think he's really good. So he is my last and final pick of the draft. But I guess if we can go through honorable mentions, we'll just do this quickly, right? Since we did 18 picks. We had a couple guys on the list that didn't make it. Dennis Wazak Jr. from Associated Press. We had Gia from The Fan, Green Bean, who also joined with Leary and Ryan on our Tuesday powwow. That's always a fun show. We had Francesca and Michael K from The Fan, Paul Esden from The Heavy. And then I guess Jen Sturger didn't make the cut because of the compliance reasons.
Yeah, compliance.
She used to be a model.
And Sal Licata didn't either because he's a Jet hater, so we want no part of him.
Yeah. And what's the face that got kicked out of the Jets organization for